Welcome to the X Podcast in this final episode of 2023. You're listening to Russ Moore. I am sitting across from the about to retire the term Putin table with Timothy Moore.
Are we using a different title from now on?
I don't know.
Let's stop giving Putin his due.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think he deserves it.
That's right. You know, never mind. I was about to get political. Yes, so we're sitting here and
I see you have a can of Coke Zero there.
Yeah, where do you think that came from?
All I can see is product placement.
Yeah,
I just feel like
Coke
you're now.
Zero.
I feel like it's. By the way, the reason why is because that's the new sponsor for our podcast. Coke reached out to us and said we would love to sponsor you.
Honestly, they should.
Okay, they should. Never mind.
And if they don't, then I will tell you the honest truth, which is it's interesting. Our entire staff has a little bit of a cult with DC. It's like a DC cult.
Yeah.
It's DC o'clock, as they say. Diet Coke.
Weird.
But
I
you
don't
love
like DC.
Coke Zero.
I don't love DC. I'll drink it, but I like.
Why do you like this better?
I think everybody that loves Diet Coke is somebody that it's been around for way longer. It's everybody that has been drinking it for a long time. So you know how you get used to it. I never did drink Diet, and then I didn't drink any kind of soda, pop for 15 years. And then when I did keto, I was like, I need something to drink. So then I went to that. And when I went to Coke Zero, I didn't have a memory of regular Coke or Diet Coke. And so that just, I was like, this is good. And it was like, so that is like Coke to me. I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
But Diet Coke tastes different. They use different artificial sweeteners.
I think Diet Coke has a little bit more caffeine.
Does
That's
it?
my one thing. Yep.
Even better.
Oh, yeah, you don't like caffeine.
Even better.
But you talked about you didn't have a memory of it, which is a perfect segue.
No,
because we're going to
gosh.
talk about the memories of 2023. That's one of your favorite things.
Yes,
is
I love
memories.
I love
We
reflecting back
I bet
on
people would
the
have,
past.
People would have loved the conversation we just had offline
No, they
before
wouldn't.
this began.
There's a reason why we had it before we started the podcast. Because it's not
we
intended
joke
to-
about it. I am a slight bit more
gosh.
nostalgic.
You are a lot more nostalgic than I am.
Yeah.
Like,
And by that, we mean I have it,
that's...
and you don't.
Okay, that's fair.
Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair one. I'm not the most nostalgic person. I live with my eyes facing forward.
Yes, not-
I live with a future-focused vision for my life. I'm not the kind of person that looks backwards.
Yeah. Honestly, as much as I joke with you, there's some ways in which I think it's odd. You know, I've told you that. I've told you that, and I say that respectfully. But it also makes you great. And
I don't know about that.
And I also feel like it probably makes life a lot more simple.
It does.
You know, we've not Enneagrammed it in a while. You know, but one in Enneagram's not about personality type. It's about core motivators. But you know, Ian Cron says that the toughest emotional place to be on the Enneagram for a person, psychologically, internally, is the place between a 3 and a 4.
That's where I live.
Because no, you're a 4. You're a 3.
But
You're a 3.
But I have tendencies sometimes for, but not the nostalgic tendencies.
Oh, I don't think you have an ounce of 4.
Oh, absolutely.
Huh. Okay. I'd like to hear that later.
Yeah.
But for me, like, the 3 in me is very futuristic, very like vision focused, ambitious, goal driven. But I am plagued by C.S. Lewis's, like, you know, the ache behind the ache, that restless, like nostalgic. That's like
stupid.
And so it's so stupid. I mean, I think
that's not a motivator of mine at all.
It's the echo of a tune we've not yet heard, a country we've not yet visited. It's, it's the Eden behind us we're all trying to get to.
Okay.
You know?
I think about the Eden we're headed toward.
Yeah. So so anyways, that is I'll be honest, that is a tough place for me emotionally, because I do feel caught in those worlds of I am endlessly nostalgic but endlessly futuristic. And the problem sometimes is I don't live in the moment. I'm constantly in the past or the future.
Yeah.
And so anyways,
so this is your idea.
We're already having some therapy. But I do think, you know, I do think there's value. You make fun of me because I quoted it beforehand. offline because you say I always pull up these random quotes, but Henry David Thoreau said, "An unexamined life is a life not worth living." At first, I misappropriated it to Socrates. Then I remembered that was Thoreau.
Okay,
but it's true, and I think it's powerful for a lot of reasons. Because unless you reflect on life, you don't learn from it. Number one. Number two, I think life goes by so quickly that I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like with every passing year, life seems to go by quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah,
and so like I just forcing myself to like slow down and think back to the memories.
Yeah.
I have this weird thing where I feel like if I don't think back through memories enough, it's almost like it didn't happen. So that may sound odd.
I forget them.
You know, like Bob Goff, he in one of his books, you know, he's like the consul to Uganda, has all these New York Times bestselling. He has this one thing he talked about one time where he's had this habit his entire life of writing down every memory he can think of.
Wow.
Like every single day, he'll write down every memory he can think of because he has this fear that if he doesn't write it down, it's like it didn't happen. I have a weird version of that too, where even when I was in second grade, me and my cousins, who I think same kind of breed, we would like get together and reminisce over first grade summers.
And this is why we're doing this today. Great.
And so I just feel like
second grade Russ can't figure out.
We want to reflect and we want to look forward.
Yeah.
So
you're my yin to my yang. You're the one that forces me to reflect, and that's a good thing. I probably need to do it more often, but why waste time? So let's. I'm just kidding.
Well, let's waste some time.
Let's waste some time. That's what we're here to do, and we're here to. Look, if I have to do this, then you have to do this. This is.
Are you speaking to our audience?
Yes, okay. I'm speaking to the audience. Like, if you're gonna make me do this, well, then, and there's probably benefit to it. So then,
okay, you martyr, Matthew.
I'll give. Okay, so I'll give you first reflection.
Okay.
And what paints the picture of me.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go back this last year in June. We had to make the very difficult call to put our dog down. Right. So it was like 2 days before his, I don't know, 13th birthday, whatever. And so we had to make this difficult decision to put Harley down, and that was really hard because, you know, if any dog owner, cat owners that ever had to do it, it's just, you feel awful because you're the one making the decision. They can't talk and tell you whether they're in pain and this, you know, and it was getting clear that he was declining. So the act of putting him down was so traumatic and awful, like hated it, was in the moment, sad, you know, emotional, like it's awful, right? As soon as I'm done doing that, okay, rest of the evening, fine. Next day, fine. Never been sad since. So I'm telling you, that moment articulates how I experience stuff. It's like it was badly. We knew it was coming, leading up to us. You're preparing. The actual moment, that time, felt it all. Afterwards, it was like, I'm good. And don't need a dog again.
See, I think the moment I said offline best articulates this part of you. But I actually think the Harley thing, I'll be honest, I actually think that was the most I saw you reflect and process emotion because that next week, there were multiple times during the work week where you actually talked about it and you
look at that
had some emotion.
I did?
You did.
Did I cry?
You didn't cry, but your eyes were...
Really?
Can I say that? Yeah, if you don't mind. They were.
I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
But
and I remember because I was like...
but here's the thing. If I feel that way, it's not over the dog. It was over the decision that we had to make in the experience of it. So I don't know what that means. Take that to the counselor. It's not over. Like, he was great. I think part of it was the last few years of his life was so difficult. Like, taking care of him that, like... We started getting to the point where we're like,
you got sick of feeding him.
We're done. No, I did not say we got sick of feeding him. He couldn't eat. We wouldn't get it. He wouldn't eat. But I think part of it was just that maybe, you know, when you know it's coming, you've already come to terms with it. It's that grieving before. It's like someone that's ever taken care of someone who's been really sick at hospice. And you kind of start grieving, so you know. So it was really the act of it and the decision that was so hard. And it was like, once it was done, I'm like, next day, it's fine. Next day, I'm fine. Like, I didn't have moments where I woke up and going, oh, I I didn't have any of those moments. Now, every once in a while, my photo app thing would pop up, and you see them, you go, "Oh, I don't want to see that." And so,
yeah, I feel like your tear ducts would have a panic attack if they saw liquid coming.
That's not true. Okay.
Have you ever listened to Nate Bargatze? I don't know if you're a big comedian.
Oh, I know Nate is.
Have you listened to his talk on how he had to walk his daughter through their dog dying?
I don't remember if he did.
It's amazing. It's
Really?
like heartwarming but hilarious.
Oh yeah,
oh,
I like
it's so
Nate.
good.
He's good.
Okay, so we're gonna kind of take the template of what we've done really the last few years, which is kind of start out macro, go all the way down to the micro. We'll start global. What we've done before is go global, then kind of church, and then kind of personal. We already have something
We
coming
may not
out.
have time for the personal, so we just go because there's a lot global that we need to talk about. So
Well, you'll love that. We won't have to do the interior too much. We can stay on the robotic surface, but I will say we have church highlights coming up. So
Yeah,
we
so
have
we
a
don't-
very
I don't know if we
special
wanna give them all
experience.
away.
We won't give them all away, so we won't go
maybe
spend too
we'll
much
do
time
that
there.
one small.
But okay, 2023 is a big year. What do you?
Don't we say that every year?
This is very true, but I do
Okay.
feel like the last.
Wait. How do we rank 2023 in, say, the last 3 years?
Talking about like half full, half empty.
5
What do you
years. How do you rank it? Because
Okay.
we'd say that 2023 was a big year. Every year's a big year.
That's
If we
true,
say
but
that,
would-
then none of them are.
That's true, but would you not say that the last 4 years have been
Pretty bad.
disproportionately big?
Yeah.
Compared
I felt like 2023 was the first year where it really felt like things were kind of back to normal. I felt like this was the first year.
Is that what 20
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No,
I thought
I think
2022 was.
I think no. I felt like it was 2023. Okay, let me rephrase that. In regards to church life, let
Okay.
me say that.
Okay.
I know we had some normalcy in 2022.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what I have in mind. So let me
Yeah.
just say I know 22 was probably where we felt like, oh man, we're not wearing masks and we can travel and we can do this.
Yeah.
In regards to what we do in the church world,
Mm-hmm.
23 felt like Easter was like, oh,
Yeah.
look, the people are kind of back.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though it was new people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so
No, that
that's
makes
I guess
sense.
in the
Yes.
church world, it felt like this was the first year.
Yep. I think that. Of course, I have to go back to 2022. I feel like 2023 globally was crazier than 2022.
Yes, I would agree.
For a few reasons. I mean, let's just talk about it. I mean, in 2022, of course, in February 22 was when Russia invaded Ukraine. That, I mean, just upended the whole world. That ended up in like food shortages. I mean, the whole. We thought we were on the brink of World War III. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that was crazy. And that's still going on.
Yep.
But this year, I mean, of course, we have Hamas attacking Israel. That's been like its own version of Ukraine and Russia. And we've talked ad nauseum about that. But several things this year globally. Number one, this was the year that, I mean, even saying this sounds controversial, but that we really saw climate change begin to. This was the year.
Hottest year on record.
Yeah, hottest year on record. Every temperature record was shattered this year across the globe.
Yep.
And you can explain that however you want to explain it, but it's happened.
Yep.
This was the year.
Yeah, you can argue why you think that is, but I think it's kind of dumb to argue that we can measure it. Mm-hmm. To me, that kind of seems
You
like a
said
dumb
you still want
argument.
to go back because we did one while you were gone.
Yeah. You got some hate too, and
You still want to do one?
well, at some point we can.
Okay.
I've got a book that I'm going to be reading by someone that I respect in the field of science, who's also has just as much of a foot in faith. And
Was the one I sent you?
no,
Okay.
no, and I really respect this person's perspective. This is somebody that I think when it comes to the science of it, and I've already listened to videos and all kinds of other stuff by this. This guy he's a doctor. He's an astronomer. He's someone who he does not put his head in the sand when it comes to the temperature, and is literally said that it is absolutely clear that the temperature we have been on a cooling cycle. The Earth goes in cycles. It has a lot to do with the tilt of the Earth. It has a lot to do with things like that. And we should be on a natural cooling cycle where the temperature should be decreasing.
All right, so let's save this.
So we may want to get
Yeah.
into this. And he says that it's absolutely clear for the last 50, 60 years that the temperature has gone the other direction. And
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like a lot, when you go, oh, it's like 1 degree, 1.5 degrees hotter than it was, whatever. But when you consider all the other factors, that's when you start going, no, that there is something happening.
Did you see the Stephen Colbert video I sent you last night?
Yes, I did. It was ridiculous.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
But it reminded me because somebody was doing an interview with Al Gore, and Al Gore was warning about some things.
Yeah.
And Colbert comes back and goes, that's reassuring, because if there's one thing we've learned is that when Al Gore warns about something, we take action.
Yep.
Anyways, okay, so we had that.
Hold on, I've got one.
Yeah.
I got one because I want to go way back. This was, I remember, kind of odd, and yet we were all like, what's this going to lead to? You know what I'm talking about?
AI.
No. That's a whole other conversation.
This was the year.
No. We'll
the
talk about that.
promise and peril of AI was.
Yeah.
I mean,
No. The spy balloon.
Oh, that was this year?
Mm-hmm.
That was this year.
Yeah. So us shooting down.
Wait, was it?
Us shooting down, in January and February, end of January to February. Us shooting down the Chinese spy balloon.
Was January also DeMar Hamlin? Was that this year?
Yeah, that was January 3rd. That was January 3rd. Yeah, from January 28th to February 4th was when the high-altitude balloon from China was flying across the North America, and on February 4th, the Air Force shot it down. So that was this last year. And so I just remember all of us going,
yep.
Is this going to lead to something?
Well,
are we going to war? Why is China? There was a lot of things with China. You know what's going on in Texas. Remember, there was all kinds of talk about China trying to buy up and all this, land and stuff in Texas and trying to get close to grids and all this. There's
This
stuff
is the
about
year
Chinese
that,
hackers right now. There was an article about that just yesterday.
Really?
About Chinese hackers against U.S. infrastructure that's happening. So there's things this year between the U.S. and China.
Yes.
Spiked.
Yes. U.S.-China's tension spiked. Although, ironically, I think this was the year, you can fact check me, Lydia, that India surpassed China in economy.
No, it did. I have that one written down as well.
Which is crazy.
They did. They are sitting at, I don't remember, I didn't write it down. I think they got to 1.43 billion. And what I was reading says, this was fascinating, that they're expected to be the leader for decades to come. China will never overtake them, ever. China is expected to lose. By the middle of this century, expected to be down 100 million people. China had some policies about children that I've heard other people say, I don't know if these people are experts, I've heard other people say that could be catastrophic for the Chinese population.
Oh.
Maybe you can't recover from. When they did not want babies, especially female babies, you are literally taking out the ones that can perpetuate your population. And so not only that, but the Chinese average age, I think, in China is like 39, and by the middle of the century, it's expected to be over 50.
Wow.
So it's aging out. And so India is expected, I think, by the middle of the 21st century to be around 1.7 billion.
It's crazy.
So population's exploding, but not necessarily in China.
Yep. That's crazy.
Or the U.S.
Yep. So, yeah, we got that. We got Israel and Hamas. We got,
I wrote down a couple other
space
ones.
Race heating up.
Yeah, we probably were on the same site. Sudan, that one was all the war in Sudan and was supposed to be moving toward democracy.
Yep.
Russia trying to land, put a moon lander that failed and crashed. But then India was, the fourth nation in the world that actually did land an unmanned craft on the moon. So there's we are looking globally, and I know the U.S. is looking at the moon more now than ever before. So there's a whole field of our sciences that are trying to put telescopes on the backside of the moon. Radio telescopes and other things, because all of the telescopes that we're using here are so interfered with by our atmosphere and other things that we aren't able to see. That's the beauty of the James Webb, is that it's out beyond where it's getting light pollution, it's getting other things, and it can see into distance. So there's a whole
Christmas Day 20. Do you
remember?
Christmas Day 2021. I read about that somewhere.
Did you read about that? So, anyways, there's like this. There are a lot of nations are looking at. I mean, we've got. I think it was Elon Musk who, was. I think it was either him or with the government. I thought I could be wrong on this, so you could fact check me. But I'm pretty sure one of them. The plan was to try to build some type of hopping base from the moon to launch further to Mars and things. So in other words, we'd fly the 23,000 miles or whatever it is to the moon and be able to land and do whatever and supplies and stuff and then be able to make our next hop.
Yep. All right. These sound very different in terms of important global things, but I mean, the two names that dominated the U.S. were Taylor Swift and Beyonce. Taylor Swift is the Time Magazine Person of the Year.
Yep. I was.
How do you feel about that?
I don't care.
I
am over the Taylor hysteria.
There was still debate at the lunch table yesterday over Taylor Swift and Beyonce. It's still fierce.
Really?
Among our staff. Although I do think it's hilarious that Kansas City Chief people get really mad that Taylor Swift stole the show.
I get annoyed when I'm watching the football game, and every time Kelsey catches a ball, they put a camera on the window where she is, even when you can't see her.
Yeah, because
give me a break.
I know everybody keeps getting annoyed at that, and I'm thinking, no one cared until she was there, and that's still more exciting than watching the game.
Okay.
So
right,
those people those people that are like, why can't we watch that? I was like, no one cared. And
no one cares that Taylor's there either.
And so she literally changed the U.S. economy. Anyways, let's talk about some. This sounds weird, but unless you have more, let's reflect. Okay.
What? Two other things that I'd say were very significant that happened globally.
Yep.
One of them maybe nationally, but there is some global impact. The first one, I think, is 2023 for me was the year where inflation really felt real.
No, that's true.
When I think of if you give me there's two topics that I think dominate for what was, I would say, the most important conversations happening maybe nationally, maybe globally, at least in America. One of them is inflation. This year was a year where I think all of us felt inflation.
Yes.
I remember this was the year where I was like, food 20, 30, 40% increase.
Yes.
Like so many things went up in price. Everywhere you go, there's a price hike.
Yes.
And so
inflation never felt real. It was like that imaginary thing that you know is real, but you don't feel it personally.
Yeah. It took time to get to us. I think they kept raising interest rates, and we're like, what's that? Is it slowing down? What are you talking about? And then this year, I think we felt the impact of it. And a lot of it is probably that everything that we experience economically in our country and globally has a trickle effect before it gets to us. So, 21, and you get all of the impact of not having the chips and all of the shipping issues and all the other things. You feel that immediately when you can't get your hands on it. But I think the real impact of the cost of that comes 2 years later, year or two. So that's what I think we felt. So inflation was so real this year. I know you and I both said this first year, but man, I feel it.
Yep.
And we even noticed it in leading a church. This first year, we felt it as a church. So that was one. And I don't know how global that is. I know in the U.S. I think to an extent, but I know the U.S. The other topic that I think might be just as big, if not was probably bigger globally, is AI.
Yep.
And that's the one you started to mention.
Yep.
And I just think this year AI was thrust into the spotlight as being that thing. And I've heard people say this in different ways, and I totally agree, and I'll say it today. We'll mark it down. AI, we're going to look back, is since the internet, it was the next biggest and maybe the biggest technological advancement that has ever happened in human history.
Yep. I still don't. Yeah, I'm still processing it. I still and I'm going to be processing it. I know we talked about even we've already had like 3 or 4 episodes on it. We need to have more.
Well, it's the thing is, it is growing and taking shape. I mean, you've got experts and some who aren't experts, Elon Musk and other people who are, and some experts who are saying that they think we're going to reach AGI in 3 years. And that is, if you don't know about different forms of AI, that's almost like the superhuman intelligence. And there's already been, even with Sam, what was
Harris?
No. What was the guy? Was the guy who was leading the OpenAI project that got released by the board and then brought back? Sam Friedman. I can't remember his name now. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-mm. It was all over the news like 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. He got let go by the board.
No.
And you're not aware of this?
No.
This is like major. How did you not know about this? I thought we talked about it. But anyways, the guy who was in charge of running OpenAI was released by the board. And then he was going to basically, him and every single one of the engineers who said they were leaving, was 700 and some engineers.
Oh, wow.
They were all going to leave. We're all going to get offered jobs by Microsoft so they can continue developing. And then they ended up patching things up. So he's back with OpenAI, as with all of them. But one of the reasons why supposedly they ousted him, the board, was that he was not, this is what's been alleged, he did not clearly communicate with the board some of the advancements that had happened, and almost they alluded to the fact of them having AI language model do some things that was breakthrough / scary. And that he maybe did not inform the board of these things. And so there's a whole lot that happened in 2023 around the ethics of AI. There's people that signed open letters. There's people that are coming together that are trying to draft. They've got some documents that are like, these are what we think should be globally followed ethics when it comes to developing AI. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not. So people will develop it, and then someone who's sinister will get their hands on it, and they will pay someone a lot of money to do something really bad with it. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger will be here.
He's back.
It's coming.
He's back. All right. Let's talk through, it sounds morbid, but we always do this. Honor. It's crazy to think through the people who have left us this year.
Okay.
There's like hundreds of names. I wrote down a few. Yeah, Bob Barker.
Oh, Bob Barker.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, Price is Right.
Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte.
Oh.
Yeah.
Picked him a real popular name. Okay.
He's a really famous name, but I can't remember what he did.
So famous, I
but
can't remember.
But he is a really
what
famous
he did.
name.
Okay.
Tony Bennett.
Yeah. Singer. Lady Gaga's favorite.
Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, I forgot Jimmy Buffett died.
Terry Funk. You remember Terry Funk, the wrestler?
Wrestler.
Bob Knight.
Oh, yeah, the coach from Indiana Hoosiers.
This was, I think, the one that people talked about the most, Matthew Perry.
Oh, yeah. That was sad.
So
that was like a month ago, wasn't it?
A couple months ago. Yep. Sinead O'Connor. Lisa Marie Presley.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Lance Reddick. So Lance Reddick was an actor, not as well known. He was in The Wire. He's in several others. I remember him when I saw his picture because he played a supporting role in the last few seasons of Lost.
Oh, okay. I don't know who it is.
So, yep. Paul Rubin. He was the guy that played Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, okay.
Passed away this year. Andy Rourke, the Iron Sheik, Suzanne Summers.
That's another wrestler.
Remember Suzanne Summers?
Yeah.
From Three's Company. Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer died this year? I must have forgotten about that.
Yep. And Tina Turner.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a big year. Big year.
It is kind of crazy every year. And then I feel like whenever we reminisce, that's what we're doing, over the people that pass away, it always makes me feel older and closer to.
I know.
Because you're just like, oh, yeah, I remember, 30 years ago. Oh, yeah. And you're like, oh, I guess that means I'm getting closer. I'm next. Okay. So we talked about deaths.
We talked about deaths. We usually talk about church, but you know what? Whether you're part of our faith community.
We didn't talk about births.
Well, we're going to get there.
Okay.
We're going to get there. So we didn't talk about church. Whether or not you're part of our faith community, you should join us for an online experience.
Yeah.
I think you would find enriching no matter what. It comes out on
December 31st.
December 31st. How can they tune in?
Live.thex.church. I don't know. We may stream this on the other platforms. I don't know if there's any. Sometimes we're not able to, like, we may not be streaming Christmas on Facebook and YouTube just because there'll be certain things we will have in our experience that we have a license to show live or on our live site, but not on a social media platform. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I don't know there would be any impact. So wherever you can stream, we'll let you know. Yeah. But it'll be at 9, 10:45, and then we may make it available to stream throughout the day
and probably on YouTube eventually.
As long as I'm saying, as long as there's nothing that doesn't not a lot.
But I mean, a lot of it is, I guess half of it is you and I, but we kind of go back and forth, and we have some different ministry leaders. We're really just kind of reflecting on what God did this year. We believe in our faith context of the year, and it's pretty inspiring.
Yeah, it's cool to go back and remember.
when we talk about it, we're like, does anybody care? But we had even people like volunteers and staff that were sitting up there that was like, oh, this was incredible to be reminded. I can't believe all this happened in a year.
Yeah.
And so it's actually really faith building, really exciting. And so join us for that. We reminisce on all just series and all the things that happened.
That's our plug for the church aspect, and then we can probably skip beyond that if you want, unless you think there's anything. Let's just do that.
Nope, let's do that. Okay. So I told you said you don't do this.
Oh, my. Oh,
I'm not going to read all
these.
Is
that pages of your...
I'm not going to read all these. Every year...
This is going to be a Russ segment.
No. I'm not going to read all these. But every year, I create a personal best of. 20 highlights of 2021, 2022, 2023, 2020. And so I have plenty. I'm not going to read them all, but I'm
just
curious.
Read the ones where I'm in them.
You know what? Here's one that popped out. You probably see this is the power of reminiscing because you probably forgot all about this.
Of course I did.
Asbury Revival, Kentucky trip with Pastor Tim.
That happened this year?
That was this year.
I had no idea. Forgot.
See?
Yeah. You're right. We did
I'm
a
glad
road
you
trip.
forgot. Yeah, because you said you hate road trips. And then I was like, oh, I thought you loved your road trip with me.
You know what? Actually, my wife and I were talking about it yesterday because we were talking about road trips and cars. We are both, or like we said this, I'm good if the road trip is 6 hours or less.
Okay.
I think beyond that, that's what I consider a road trip, and I don't enjoy that.
Okay.
I don't love them.
Yeah.
When they're 2 days long.
Yeah. But if you had
that was fun. That was only like, what was it, 3 hour drive, 4 hour drive?
Yeah, it was amazing because Asbury Revival was this incredible movement, so we got to experience it. But then I used to live in Lexington, so it's kind of like a road trip.
Yeah,
trip down memory lane for me. Got to show you didn't care, but I was like, I used to live in that apartment.
Yeah, we went to a restaurant that you really loved and you used to serve at.
Yep, it was really fun.
Yeah,
so
it was a pizza place. Pizza place?
It was pizza. Yeah, we had pizza, but they have a lot of different stuff.
Okay.
Saw a good restaurant. Shout out Lexington, Kentucky, even though it's been sold to a new owner and it's not the same. But it was a beautiful trip. Yep. So that was one of my highlights.
Okay.
So, I mean, I have plenty, but
go for it.
You don't do this every year.
Okay, I have a few highlights.
Have you ever done this?
I shared some of the highlights on the end of the year experience, so I feel like it'll be a little repetitive.
Have you ever, towards the end of the year, listened to Counting Crows' Long December?
Nope.
Okay.
Not a once.
What are your highlights of the year personally?
Okay, I will.
What makes you weep with joy?
I will hit. Okay, I'll hit some of them quickly, just because we talk about some of them on the end of the year church review.
Okay.
So I'll hit some of them. Nothing good in the spring. I'm trying to reflect and I can't remember. But the 20-year anniversary of our church was a big one. And so we talk a little bit about that on there. And so that was that was one of those ones that brought a milestone moment.
Yeah. It's huge.
And it was, I will say, it is kind of fun. I like reminiscing sometimes in the real distant past more than I do the current past.
Okay.
So I felt like it was kind of fun to even pull back I went back through and pulled up old photos and other things, and it was like, oh, that's hilarious. Or just stuff from like when our church was a year old or 2 years old, and like, I can't believe we did that. You know what I mean? Things like that. So that was kind of fun. So we did that. In May was a crazy month because we had a wedding in our family, not my immediate, but my brother's. We had a wedding, we had a baby shower, we had a funeral we went to, we had a graduation from high school, we put our dog down. Like, it was like 3-week window. Remember that? We're talking about 3-week window when we experienced everything you can imagine. Family staying with us. It was crazy. So there was like highs and lows.
That was like right before sabbatical.
Kind of. It was end of May, beginning of June. I didn't go until middle of July. But so I had that. But the highlight that I didn't say that was in all of that for us was Lauren and Hunter having Cohen.
You're a grandpa.
Grandson.
You're a peepaw.
No, I'm not a peepaw. I'm Pop.
You're Pop. Okay.
That's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Laura Lee is Lolly, and I'm Pop. And
That's right.
so that has just been
you love
next level. I love it. It's better than having kids. It's better than having kids. I'm telling you, people told us, they're like, I'm telling you, it is the greatest thing ever, and they're right, because you don't have all the stress. Like, we hear it from them.
Yeah.
But you don't have all the stress. You just get to play. And he is a blast, and he's kind of getting to that really fun age, 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little over 6 months. And so it's been that we have absolutely loved. That's been an amazing thing.
That's so cool.
And then we had, shortly after that, we had Audrey. This was another big one, leave for basic training.
Yep.
And so a lot of things happened in that
And then
window.
something else happened with Audrey.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll go in order.
Okay.
So, because a lot of things happened in that window for us as I reflect back on it. We had Audrey leave July 17th or something. I don't remember. July 18th. We took her to the airport and sent her off, and that's a weird feeling where you're sending them off and you don't have contact very much for, 8 weeks. And so she went and did basic training and then tech school, and we went to the graduation. That was cool. In that period, my wife and I got to really experience what it's like being empty nesters for a short window.
How's that feel?
It was good. I mean, I think
You said it's an adjustment.
we're adapting to that change pretty well.
Yes.
To the point where she's back, and we love it. We're glad she's there. But I said to my wife the other day, I said, do you know, when it was just the two of us, I'm just amazed at how easy it is to take care of our house. And we love having her there, but it's just like, it was like, this is so different,
Yeah.
And so
Audrey, if you're listening, he loves you.
Yes, I do. I'm glad she's there. I want her to stay with us as long as she can, which won't be that long, because then I guess I'll just say on the heels of that, in November, she got engaged.
Yeah.
So
Come
big
on.
year, and she's getting married in this coming summer, 2024. So, and then in the middle of all of that, I did my sabbatical,
Yep.
which I hadn't done in 6 years, and so I had an extended time, and it was good. Did a lot of traveling, maybe too much traveling. I like to have a little bit more downtime, but it was good. Those are probably, I think, the big highlights from this year.
Would you? It's just so easy to say half empty, half full. Let's compare it and cause you to
Okay.
deeper. 2021, 22, and 23. What percentage would you give them? Like if half empty is 50% or below, like 40, 30, 20%, how would you rate 21, 22, and 23?
Well, I
just wanna see comparatively.
I don't know about your strange analogies of how you want me to do a half full, half empty, or what
I'm just
percentage.
saying half empty, half full
or
is
what
too easy.
percentage.
It's
Or
too
what
easy.
percentage.
Yeah,
Okay.
percentage.
I would just say this. Each year, I feel like has increased in how good it is.
Really?
Well, yeah, 21 was not easy.
Yes. 2022, your book
2020
release.
22 had some highlights and moments. The book release felt like we were getting back to normal in regards to travel, and a lot of those things I think was good. But I think this last year was a really good year.
Yeah.
I mean, grandson and Audrey going to basic training. That's just something that you, as a parent, you just feel so incredibly proud of.
Yeah.
Like going to the graduation, all that. That's just like a huge thing. It's like she graduated. I mean, there was just a lot of big markers in our life, and so I feel like I would look back and yes, that was an exciting individual accomplishment for me. But when I think about 23, there's a lot more family type things that to me, and then our church 20 years. I think they've increased.
What's something you learned about yourself in 2023?
I learned, and it's funny, you asked me, I wasn't prepared for that question, but I know one of the things that I mentioned, even on our podcast, that I learned is that I'm trying to discover how I rest. That was one thing that kind of came out of my sabbatical, and I talked to a counselor I had 4 sessions with a counselor on my sabbatical. They were probably at least an hour and a half long, and they were good, and I was in a good place. But through that and through the experience of the sabbatical, really brought into I remember for me trying to really focus on how do I find, because I'm the way you talk about the way I'm wired. It's like I'm not looking backwards. I'm always looking forward. Probably struggle to be in the moment more so because I do that. And probably the challenge for me is learning how to have an appropriate way to rest, which for me is not go sit on a beach somewhere. I'll go nuts. And so talking through that, I don't know where I've landed, but just trying to understand what does it look like for my soul to rest. Mm-hmm. I think I'm still trying to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, shout out to, I just finished it this weekend, but I just finished Marianne Howard's book, Rest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she
and
was.
It's actually just really good.
Yeah. So I think that's, you say, I learned that I don't know
Yeah.
what my soul most needs to be rested. I will say, when I got back from the sabbatical, I felt more soul rested than I knew I needed before I went into it.
Okay.
Because as I told you, it's like I came back, and I think it took a little bit even coming back and realizing, but I have a renewed vigor for what is ahead.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had that before then. And so I think there's something about, this is one of the things I guess I've learned, there's something about me making sure I find the appropriate rhythms so I don't lose my tenacity for the vision and what I want to run after and do in life. And I think that'll be the first thing that will go when your soul gets weary and tired is you can't look ahead.
Yeah.
There is no. It's you move into survival mode.
Yeah.
You stop thinking about, oh, we want to move toward this and build this and do this. And so I think that became most apparent for me. And then I think I learned, I guess I'll add on, I learned how much I love being a grandparent. Because obviously, how would you know that until it happens?
Yeah.
But little Cohen is like just a dream baby.
You loved it.
And I love him. And every time I get to see him, I light up. And, he's amazing. And so, and we never had a boy. I had 2 girls. So having a boy around, a baby boy,
that's cool.
That's new and fun.
That's cool.
And so we're just enjoying watching him grow through this lens. It's different. So
I love that.
Okay, your turn. You only said like one.
Well,
Do you have any other highlights that you want to share now?
I
And
mean,
what did you learn about yourself?
highlights. I'm funny because I try to write down stuff that's like small and big, like stuff I don't want to forget about the year. Like there's even small things like you're gonna make fun of me. Like I even go and I write down what are my favorite albums that came out. So this was a year where almost all my favorite bands, Blink-182, Laney, Gaslight Anthem, all came out with new albums. That sounds small to some people. For me, that was like I'm a very big music person. Like that meant I was like, oh, I was so excited, and it all came out within like in a month or two period. And so I was just like, I get excited. Like I'll write down each month what I'm looking forward to throughout the year. So that was exciting. I'll even write down what are the books that made the biggest impact. I'll even write down like, I know this sounds so funny. Like I've gotten more into shows the last couple of years. What are the show like Ted Lasso season 3? The final Ted Lasso came out. Like I wrote down like 5 or 6 shows that like I want to remember hit that year. I've talked about it.
Do you want to hit any books and shows, or do you not want to do that?
Let's see. Sure. Well, let me go through a couple of the big ones. So, I wrote down, of course, started the year, Passion in Atlanta, and then spent time in Raleigh, because friends and family are scattered everywhere. Highlights of the year are always, trips to Greenville to see family, trips to Raleigh, trips to Atlanta. I got to go to LA again, spend some time in LA. All those trips are always meaningful. My 2 big international trips, of course, me and my dad in Egypt in September, and then talked a lot about that, and then a lot about, we finally taught the whole family. I think my highlight of the year may have been the whole family together in Spain.
Yeah.
The whole family together in Spain was just...
That's cool.
That trip was just perfect.
That's
and
awesome.
It was just so good for my soul. So I loved that. I love, it sounds funny, but like, I write down some of my favorite moments in communication, like messages that meant a lot to me. To get to share. I write down, it was a year of a lot more pickleball and Clippers. Playing pickleball, seeing the Clippers play. It sounds small. I dove back into counseling in this year and stuff. My highlight, maybe even more than Spain, I don't know, be close, was my writing week in June. We talked about that. I just felt so full. I took the entire week off. And just, guarded my mind, my attention, my emotions. And it was, and it was warm. So I like, when I wasn't writing, I was running outside. I was in the park. And then I left that week more full than I've left any week
I remember that.
in years. And speaking of writing, that was another kind of highlight of the year is by the end of this year, fingers crossed, my rough draft of my next book will be done.
Yeah.
So I made a lot of progress.
Come on.
Of the next book, which is exciting.
That's awesome.
And then, one thing is, it's, Yeah, I don't know. I hesitate to share on here, but because I always keep certain things in my life personal. But this year, like I dated someone for the first time in a few years, and we did it for 4 or 5 months, and decided not to move forward. But that was a big part of my year, and it was somebody that I met in German Village, so I got to explore German Village even more than usual, and go to a lot of new places, and so there's some really fun moments there. Also, what was the other one? Oh, I talked about this. The Ragnar Relay Trail Race.
Oh, yeah. I remember when you did that.
Yes, where I spent a weekend in Cincinnati in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Doing a 16-mile trail run, which was grueling but exhilarating. I ran more this year than I normally have, so that was
You're
a big
runner.
Well, I would not consider myself a runner, but I definitely
would. You're a runner.
My best friend got married, so several weekends in Wilmington and Raleigh. That's a really big deal. I had friends fly out. I had family fly out a couple times this year. I had my buddy EJ fly out. I had several people fly out to spend time. Got to do several weddings that meant a lot. Spent some time with the Reds and
What about
X.
yourself, though? What'd you learn? One thing you learned about yourself this year. Just one, because we need to move this thing on. Wait, you asked me?
I know.
On the spot? I had 2 things on the spot, and you
I know.
had the question, and you don't have anything?
I know. Mr. Reflective here. I'm not a
You still need to reflect some more.
I need to reflect some more. There's
You learned what you don't want in a relationship. No? Well, you just said you had a relationship. It didn't go on, but no, maybe not. Maybe that wasn't the primary thing.
I think I learned
how much you love doing the X podcast. I'm with you.
There's a lot, but let me I need to take some more time to distill that.
All right. We'll table that till 2024.
Yep. Yeah, I think maybe one of my biggest reflections for 2023 has to do with what I want to take into 2024. Which maybe this sounds morbid as I get older, but I think 2023, maybe it's, again, people around me getting older, like the world going crazy. I've realized, like, if there's a word I want to take into 2024, it sounds so cliche, but it's intentionality. Like, I really want to steward my time. And I want to steward my intentionality and not taking life for granted more than ever before. I want to find that way, and it's hard to simultaneously have an urgency towards projects in my life, the things I feel called to do, the things I feel called to create, but do it in a way to where I'm just as intentional not to fly through life, but I'm just as intentional as I am with that to be present with people and to soak in time with parents and family and friends, like in the different arenas of life that actually matter. Like even right now, I'm trying to figure out, I feel like because of my role, I can't just delete social media, but part of me is just like, how do I remain tethered to society, but also
I'll tell you how.
delete distractions?
I'll tell you how.
Yeah.
I put a 30-minute time limit on my.
Yeah. That's great.
I did that, and depending on what we're doing, if we're just chilling out and doing this, maybe we'll be on that, whatever. It'll pop up and go, your time limit's done, and hit OK, and I'm done. I don't care what I was watching.
Yeah.
I've stuck to it.
No, that's good.
So I've done a 30-minute time limit, and
Yeah.
it's been good because I'm not completely removed. One of the primary things I would do is get on there just to see, I sometimes communicate with other people or do certain things at times.
Yeah.
And so it's enabled me to get on and just kind of like in a quick snapshot, and I could probably lower it, but a quick snapshot of like what's going on. Do I need to be aware of something? But I'm not wasting. I mean, you'd be surprised. I bet you it's nothing to waste an hour and a half on a social media platform.
Yeah.
One of them a day. That's normal.
And for me, it's not just social media, but if I'm not intentional, I can just get on my phone and just oscillate back and forth between social media, news, YouTube, text.
Yep.
I mean, just
Text
back
is
and forth.
one of my highest.
Yes. Which
Screen
text
time.
there can be a value in text.
Yes.
I'm actually reading a book right now by Chris Bailey called Hyperfocus, and I'm just trying to like distill some. Anyway, so that I think like I want to
Intentional.
take this sounds intentionality, and I really want to. We both heard Erwin talk about this human goals. Like when I was in
Yeah.
Egypt, I wrote down. I called it my dirty dozen, like 12 attributes that I'm like, these are the attributes that mean the most to me of who I want to become.
Yeah.
Because there are things I've learned about myself. There's some ways I've learned about myself that I'm more resilient than
Yeah.
I realize I am, which I think that everybody is. There's some areas that I learned about myself. I'm like, oh, like I let fear control me there more than I thought I did. I have, like, I've always been that person to where I know I have a ton of faults, but I've never felt like fear is one of them. But there's some areas in my life where I'm like, no, I keep hesitating there because I have fear there. And so that's the thing I don't like about myself. That I'm realizing like, oh, there are some areas where I have fear, and I need to address that. And so going into 2024, I'm kind of skipping ahead, but there's things I want to accomplish. I mean, there's some financial goals I have. I want to just crush this next book, and I want to release it, and I want it to be amazing.
Yeah.
I got ministry goals, the things I want to create, labs I want to create, like leadership stuff. Like I got, things we've been talking about behind the scenes that I want to help drive advancement towards, and I got all kind of things like that. I got health stuff and physical, fitness things, all kind of things. But I like, this sounds so cliche, but I want underneath intentionality. Like there's some words I want to grow in this year. I want to become more courageous. I want to become more bold. I want to become more selfless. I want to become even more just fearless. I want to become even more grateful. Like there's just human goals. Like I want to, it sounds so cliche, but like, especially like I feel like in church world where you see like people that are in church world but that crumble. Like I want to become a better person.
I agree.
Like I just want sometimes the older I get, the more I'm like, I still have crazy aspirations and dreams, but then I'm just like, man, I just want to continue to become just a better human being in every way that I can.
I agree.
I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know if that answers, but-
No, I think just to tag on that, and then we can, I think we can move forward if we want. But I think one of the things you're discovering that I feel like I'm also kind of in journey of discovering is that I'm less worried, and maybe this is an age thing a little bit too. I'm less worried about the personal accomplishments as I am the person I am becoming.
Yes.
And I really feel that more now than I have ever before.
Yeah.
That I actually value.
Yes.
Like, I just think through all the political, mess that we've been in as a country over the last couple of years, and just the polarization that's happened, and just the response at times, even like this past year when we did our series, It's Complicated, walking through really complicated social matters, moral matters, political matters. I'm like, who do I want to be in the midst of those things?
Yes.
Not what position do I want to hold?
Yes.
And, it's like, I want to be the kind of person where, like, even this year I had, I won't talk about it, but I had a experience of, I would say, being very wronged by someone in business, business deal. Wasn't in business, but a business kind of transaction deal. And I found myself just constantly remembering, what Paul said in Romans, it's like, or maybe it was 1 Corinthians, I can't remember which one, but where Paul talks about, like, wouldn't you rather be wronged and suffer for that than to basically make a spectacle of it as a Christ follower? And he's talking in that one about one Christian suing another Christian over, something that they've done. And, I had someone say, like, you should sue him over that. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And, I think part of me, that's just something in me of, like, I want to mature to a point of going, hey, that didn't feel fair or right, and it cost me thousands of dollars, but I care more about the person that I am than just getting what I think is rightfully mine.
Yeah.
And I think that probably paints a broad picture of, like, I think some of the things that have changed in me over the last couple of years, and that I feel like I care more about. It's like the human goals, like you were just talking about,
Mm-hmm.
like really caring more about who I'm becoming.
Yeah.
I think the accomplishments, I'm driven by building stuff. A lot has to do with our church. A lot has to do with what I feel I'm called to build over the
Yeah.
next, however many years. But I just don't know that it's, I think I've just kind of shifted from like younger, that's all that mattered, to now it's like, no, who am I in this journey?
I've watched you shift.
Because we can build, well, I appreciate that. I feel like I've gone through a bit of a soul journey. And so I think it's like, that to me is important. I'm now seeing the value, whereas the me 5 years ago would have laughed at that. Like that doesn't matter. It's what you accomplish. And I think I've had to have a lot of personal reflection, not in the past, but personal reflection on just what do I see that God values?
Yeah.
Is it my accomplishments or is it who I am?
No, that's good. Kind of related to that, and kind of another highlight I didn't mention, but one of the ways that I have chosen and am choosing to invest in all of what we're talking about is the choice to join the arena. It's a mastermind course that costs, to be honest, thousands of dollars a year. And the three pillars of it are communication, leadership, and character. It's the triangle of investing at the highest level you can in your leadership, your communication, and your character, and who you're becoming and how you're operating. But I'm also realizing more and more that the input only matters in what you execute.
Yeah.
And it's stuff we already know, but it's I think this year was just a great reminder of I really am responsible for what I am becoming inside.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for what I'm becoming inside, and I have agency in that.
Yep.
And I'm learning more and more that what I'm becoming inside, I've always been a big believer in the power of input. Your input determines your output. But I think this year, probably more than ever, I'm realizing not only am I responsible for who I'm becoming inside, but even more than input is action. That you're not changed by what you learn, you're changed by what you do. You're not changed by the amount that you read, you're changed by the amount that you apply. And that sometimes one courageous step is worth more than 50 books or 50 sermons.
I agree.
And so, yeah.
That's good.
So I don't know.
Well, that's what we're carrying into this new year.
Yeah.
I think it's been good.
Yeah. I just have that, it sounds so cliche. I have a feeling that I haven't had in a while that this year's going to be pivotal.
Yeah.
It's a pivotal year.
Yeah.
But that it also hinges on action.
It's good.
And so yeah, I'm excited. I feel
Good.
I feel a weight behind it, but an expectant weight behind it.
Yeah. I'm excited about this year.
Yeah.
I really am.
What are you looking forward to?
Well, I think a lot of my excitement, yes, we've got some great family stuff planned for this year, meaning a wedding, and just continuing to be involved in Cohen's life. And, I'm really focusing heavily on, well, you've encouraged me to like the book I wanted to drop. You're like, no, you need to write that book. So that's probably encouragement that I needed to hear to go, okay, I need to do the hard work and do it. So I really am going to put some energy. I mean, my goal is to finish that book in this next year, in 2024. I don't know that I'll release it this next year, but my goal is to finish it in this year. And so I'm really going to hunker down. I've been having a lot of internal conversations with myself about that and pulled it back out. And so I've got those things, but even just, I think more in our church environment, I just have more expectation.
There's momentum.
Yeah, I think there's momentum. I have more expectation for this year than I have in a while, and I don't know what that looks like. I'm not trying to expect. I've tried to. In the past, I've always kind of thrown out these ambitious goals of what I want to see happen, but I think most of them are rooted in like. It sounds bad. I'm trying to think of a not super spiritual word for this, but just like. Maybe it's personal ambitions and goals. I want to say out of the flesh. It's just more of things like, I'd love to see us be able to reach this number of people. I'd love to see this number of this. I'd love to see this. And the excitement that I have isn't built around any of that. It's just around like the direction we're going,
Yeah.
the energy that seems to be moving in with it. Like you said, the momentum where it's going. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about in this new year as a church that we're releasing and rolling out that we are investing in that I think is just going to be huge for our church, just so pivotal for people in their faith journey. Like there's just so much. I feel like there's some energy going to the vision that God's given us for for the church and where we're going over the next few years and beyond.
It's exciting.
And so I just feel like there's some momentum.
It's exciting.
So we're excited.
We're excited.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this still, several things. One, rate this podcast.
Yes,
if you've never done it. If you've never done it, rate this podcast. It would mean the world to us. Leave a review. That would also mean the world. But also, we may not have another episode come out before the year ends.
Yeah, I think we're going to skip the very last week.
Yeah.
We're going to be off, and we're going to come back to the new year, hit the ground running in the first full week.
Yep. So this is us saying Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
And we're thankful for you. We're thankful to do a whole nother year with you. We're thankful and excited about journeying through 2024 together. As always, one of the goals of this is for you to have a weekly place to come to have the conversations about life and culture. When you agree with us, when you don't agree with us. And sometimes me and you don't agree with each other. Yeah. And that's the beauty of these tables, is it's a safe place to just navigate life and navigate the real things that are going on in society. And so we plan, God willing, to continue to do that through 2024. Yeah. And, we're just excited. We're thankful for you. Let us know. This will be kind of fun. Let us know, any goals you have for the new year. And if there's any podcast episodes that stood out from 2023, let us know. It's always fun to know what stands out to people.
Yeah.
But until then, we will see you in 2024. Tune in to the special end of the year experience at live.thex.church to check out all that's going on at X Church. And until then, we'll see you in the new year.
Happy New Year.
Hey guys, it's Russ. Thanks so much for listening. We really believe if we can get around tables instead of behind screens, if we can talk to each other instead of at each other, we can make the world better. To help us do that, here are a few things you can do to help. First, if you haven't yet, leave a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe on YouTube. This helps more than you know. Also, if you have been impacted by the community out of which this podcast comes, that's X Church. Maybe you're local or you've been touched by the messages and impact across the country, even the world. I want to encourage you to support this work. A powerful life principle is to invest in the people and places that invest in you. And so I want to invite you to do that right now by going to thex.church/give. You can give a one-time small gift, a sacrificial gift, or even become a recurring partner. Together, let's keep elevating the conversation, thinking higher, loving deeper, and making the world better. Cheers.